put an elastic band around it, it'll soon drop off of its own accord. Welcome to the Snap UK podcast, your home for NFL news, views and opinions from this side of the pond. Check us out online at thesnappodcast.com and join in with the debates and random nonsense at
The Snap UK.
Hey, I've got through a whole season without saying it. Right. Tonight at Shea Farrow, I should have had a full house.
It's fucking annoying. I've got the whole season without fucking remembering our name.
There's still the playoff.
He knows the website.
Yeah,
That's harder.
You can probably tell us the Facebook address.
Yeah.
www.facebook.com/The Snap Podcast.
He's had nearly 30 years to get ready for the internet. Right? Twitter's only been around for about 12 years. In 18 years' time, he'll be laughing.
Well,
I'll be the only person who's not been banned from Twitter by virtue of not being on Twitter. Right. So I have tonight at Shea Farrow, Paul, Jim, and John, and no Gary, even though, I'm coming for the first half, fellas, letting us down at the last minute because, job. Some people.
Is he saying we ain't got jobs?
No, he's just saying his is more important.
Is it?
I think so.
Not for long.
No. He's not dying, he's leaving his job. Just to clarify. Right, tonight we get to dissect week 18 and all the drama of who's out, who's in.
Anything happens, remember that.
The playoff places are settled and Black Monday has passed. So, we will begin with the AFC and the games with playoff places at stake. First of all, Tetons 16, Jags 20, a straight fight for the AFC South title. And despite the fact they seemingly didn't want to, the Jags actually win this with what is more or less a walk-off pick six of Josh Dobbs.
There's a running theme this week of teams that have limped over the line into the playoffs. And I put the Jaguars into that category where Titans play really well considering all the issues they've had at quarterback with their team injuries and everything else. And the Jaguars, maybe the occasion got to them. Anyway, they got over the line. Good defense. Josh Allen scored a defensive touchdown to win the game and, on to the playoffs. And who would have thought the Jags would have gone to bottom of the AFC to top of the AFC in one season?
I mean, also, they are playing a team. They have a better playoff record. They have a better playoff record than the team they're playing.
Yeah.
They might actually not be one and done.
Well,
I think they're in a good shout.
I think there's a very good shout for that. But we will preview the playoffs in the second half of the show.
Jump the gun a bit there.
Well, no, that's okay. That's fine. It's not unlike you to be
But
premature.
I just think the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl. and
that's that. Okay, I understand the theory that they sort of limped home, but this was a high-pressure situation that...
It was effectively the first playoff game for them, wasn't it, really?
Of course it was. Now,
That's fair.
I've not heard enough about Doug Pederson, Coach of the Year.
No, I think he's a shout.
And I don't know why I've not heard that.
I think it's because the Jaguars are only really good in the second half of the season, maybe even the last third of the season, where people have started thinking...
Were they 1-6 or something?
Yeah, something like that.
The problem the Jags have is that every time they've been remarkable, someone else has been more remarkable. So this upswing they've been on is great, but the upswing that Detroit's been on, my God!
Yeah.
He's been Coach of the Year. That's great, but look at Daboll.
Yeah.
He's got that perennial team of losers into the playoffs.
He's made a number one pick a really good quarterback, whereas people like Pete Carroll are making Geno Smith look really good, and
The $7 million man.
yeah. And I think it's slightly unfair. I think he's not getting enough credit for the job he's done. And you listen to the players in Jacksonville, like they love him. I saw an interview with one of the O-linemen going, it doesn't really count last year because Trevor played with Urban, but now I go to war for Doug Pederson, and I sort of believe him. They look really good. It wasn't a great performance. I don't know if it was nerves.
It's just pressure.
Titans as well. They played quite well against the Cowboys the week before. It is really good that the Jags have gone from worst to first. I feel like the Titans have given them every opportunity to do that with their injuries, the off-season trades. It's just been... But it's a results business, and that's what the Jags did.
You raise a good point, though, and why Pedersen hasn't been in for Coach of the Year, because he's done what he had to do. You get this generational talent quarterback, you should be in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think it's the speed of the turnaround.
Yeah.
Don't forget, they were an abortion of a franchise last year. Now, you say who said that they would go from worst to first, but actually when we
did.
when we did the preseason preview, we said of all the teams that could go from worst to first, it's the Jags because the talent was already there. They'd just been
And the division
badly
appalling.
harnessed. Yeah, exactly.
What's a rhetorical question?
Yeah, sort of. For those of you who were interested, and it's probably just me, but Racy McMath showed up again this week.
One carry for 4 yards.
Absolutely, Racy McMath there. That's your Racy McMath.
Sam Haskins as well. I like that name.
Yep. And Paul, just for you, Jeff Swain, 1 reception, 5 yards, no touchdowns.
5 yards in one game.
Jeff Swain. Okay, so
It has layers.
the Jags are in. They're the 4th seed in the AFC. The Tetons straight out of they're in the bin. Alongside them in the bin will be the Patriots. Pats 23 at Bills 35. Beginning the day of the 7th seed, ending it as fucking pathetic losers. The Patriots utterly abortionate from kickoff in this game, where they conceded straight from the opening kickoff on a 92-yard kickoff return. And then later in the game, they conceded a 102-yard kickoff return. This has been the Patriots' problem all season. The defense has played as good as anything in anybody's team all season. Special teams has been the worst I've ever seen, and the offense has been one of the worst, between 27th and 32nd in every key statistic in the league. You cannot win like this.
Good thing you got a defensively minded genius head coach.
Well, like I say, that side of the ball is fine.
That's fine. The special team stuff feels very un-Belichick-esque, doesn't it?
Because normally they're praised for their special teams.
Yeah.
To the extent that they win games because of special teams.
Yeah.
Well, they have done, not this year, obviously.
And now they're a special team.
Now they are a special team.
They're saying that, though. I didn't think they were that bad this week.
I think, given everything that's happened with Buffalo over the last week, even if none of that happened, I think the Bills will win. But because of all that happened, the Bills are just going to win. Whatever happened, that they would have done anything to win this, and I don't think anyone would have stopped them.
I don't know. I think the emotion could have got too much for them, because you could see, even in the after game comments, they were still really emotional.
Yeah, of course.
And the best thing that could have happened to them is they have a 92-yard kickoff return, and suddenly all nerves are gone. And then at half time, Pats are in this, and then they take the lead. And what happens? They get a 102-yard kickoff return, and the nerves are settled again. But yeah, as well. The Pats, I think they just need tweaks, because the offense needs reworking. Yeah, but you got a quarterback who's looked rubbish in the scheme. That Matt Patricia still being there is tantamount to a trip in the Hague. He's fucking appalling.
It's fine him being there, but give him the right job.
Give him the right job. I don't think
he's not offensive. He's never ran an offense in his life.
Since Jacoby Myers threw away that lateral, he's been really good. There's enough there to get into the playoffs next year if they can get the off-season hires right. The Pats haven't gone from a 20-year dynasty to appalling. They've just gone to strangely mismanaged. But I think for the Bills, it just feels like, I don't know what the word is, but because it's not momentum, but there's something willing them to go all the way, and it wouldn't surprise me if they get to a Super Bowl now. They are, but yeah, Allen, he's been off it for a couple of weeks, hasn't he? Since his elbow injury, seemed to finally look a bit more on it this week. The pass to Diggs for the touchdown is something only he could do.
It was he put seemingly no effort into that pass. Yeah. He looked like he was going to pass it 12 yards, and in the end it went 40, 50 yards in
Yeah.
the air with absolutely no effort at all. In Buffalo, outside, in the cold, straight to Diggs on a dime. And I think one of the players of the week.
Yeah.
Potentially a contender for Sweetest Player of the Week. Yeah. But that's what Josh Allen can do. He doesn't have to play at such a high level for this team to win games, which I think he will do going into playoffs. I think they've learned a lot over the last 2-3 years in the playoffs where they have lost. Hopefully they can take those learnings, and they haven't got an easy route, but they've got a route.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick confirming he will be back for his 24th
Yeah.
season, so that's disappointing.
Well, it's not. It's
as long as if it's up to him.
Yeah, it's only disappointing he doesn't make changes. If he makes if Bill O'Brien comes in as an offensive coordinator and Matt Patricia goes back to defensive coordinator, that's not a bad coaching staff. Griff shaking
I've
his
got
head.
absolutely nothing positive at all. The old man should resign and fuck off. Let's do a house cleaning now.
Who's better?
It doesn't matter. You got to start the process of being crap like the 49ers had Jim Tom Sula.
Yeah,
That's
but
what we need.
season,
We need our Jim Tom Sula. Got to get it out of the way.
No, you don't.
You've had 18 shit coaches.
Yeah, that's that's be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, we're the reason you shouldn't get rid of him.
Otherwise, it's a different sport. But you look at Man United, going,
Yeah.
well, we won the FA Cup in 2018. You're like, fucking great. You won every league for fucking 20 years, and now. It's like, yeah, I know we're buying Wout Weghorst from Burnley. It's that's where you can be.
That was an unnecessary dig at you, Paul.
It was fair.
How many lead strikers were scoring in World Cup quarterfinals twice?
Moving on. Damar Hamlin out of ICU.
Yeah, out of hospital.
Out of hospital, communicating with the team. This is all brilliant news compared to where we were last week, so I just wanted to touch upon that.
Yes, great.
I thought we handled ourselves in a very adult manner last week. And did
Not
quite
like
well.
us.
No, that was...
I was away.
Yeah,
That's why.
right. So, because the Patriots are incapable on offense, the Dolphins had the door open for them. Jets 6, Dolphins 11. After a 5-game slide, the Finns scrape home. This is John's definition of limping into the playoffs. The Jets are still a quarterback away. The Dolphins may also still be a quarterback away. But they're in the dance, so chances. This is the thing. They have a chance.
They have a chance, but only if Tua's fit.
Yeah, Skylar Thompson looks inaccurate at best. Teddy Bridgewater has a broken finger.
Yeah.
And Mike Glennon is there.
Yeah, the running game's okay, but it's never been what they've lent on.
I like Raheem Mostert.
Yeah, I like Raheem.
I like Jeff Wilson as well. They can both get yards, but
But who's better? There's only one way to find out. Oh no,
Stats.
That's what their wideout does.
but they need a quarterback. And Skylar Thompson's not the answer. Teddy Bridgewater's not the answer. If Mike Glenn's the answer, I don't want to know what the question
hey,
was.
who's got the
The
longest neck in the NFL?
Right? Yeah.
He's going to stick his
Davis
neck out
Mills.
for that franchise.
Davis Mills
He's
has the
going to
longest
stick
neck.
his neck out for the franchise.
He is.
I also think in a team where you've got Waddle and you've got Tyreek Hill, you don't need to pass it that far. So why were they trying to?
They need Drew Brees.
Yeah. Need Brock Purdy.
I think a lot of people's problems would be solved with a Brock Purdy.
Well,
I think this is a season where this is a team that I still feel they're a couple of building blocks away. They've got a great wideout. If Tua stays fit, if you have a fit Tua coming into the new season,
How long have we been saying that now?
but most of
3
his
years.
most of his troubles this season have been from him falling on his head, not from anything else.
and their inaction when he's fallen on his head.
Yeah.
Like they cost him 2 games because he fell on his head. They pretended it was his back and then put him back out there on a short week.
Yeah, but
Because they're fucking idiots.
I'm with John.
I got my dance move.
Like, yeah.
I'm kind of with John as well. It's an organisation that seems to take 2 steps forward and then 2 steps back again.
Yeah.
Like you think they made some good moves, like signing Tyreek Hill, strengthening the defense, bringing in what looks like a good offensive-minded head coach, and then they do something like that in terms of like, all right, yeah, you've got Tua, who is an injury-prone quarterback, and then you've got Teddy Bridgewater, who's an injury-prone quarterback. As your top two quarterbacks. I mean, yeah, the chance of them having 2 quarterbacks injured in the same season, well, now it seems to be quite high.
Yeah.
Like, there's a number of teams that have gone down to their 3rd quarterback. It's not working for them. Quite frankly, it's a fluke that it's working for 49ers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the they're in the playoffs. You're right. They've got a chance. If Tua is fit, they've got a much better chance. If he's not fit, I don't know who they're. I can't remember who they're playing, but I'm betting that on that team.
You should.
Yeah, it's the Bills, isn't it? Yeah,
the Bills.
Okay, yeah.
And that's the problem. So they're playing the Bills. The Dolphins are the very definition of it's not how you finish, it's the whole season, because at the midway point in the season, the AFC East had all of its teams in the playoffs.
And remember, they beat the Bills.
Yeah, and they've beaten the Bills. So, yes, they've limped home, but they have previous. They can do it, like you say, with the right personnel on the field. And Paul, you weren't here last week for me to crow about the fact that the Jets finished below the Patriots, but that made me I'm very happy.
I'm sorry, but
You should be.
if considering how much derision I received at the beginning of the season, to then be a game away with a terrible quarterback.
Or a series of terrible quarterbacks.
Hang on, they're a Super Bowl winning quarterback for the game.
Joe Flacco did indeed play.
Yeah, a man who won the Super Bowl 10 years ago.
Literally.
Joe, here's the thing about the Jets. Do you know who their lead rusher was this season?
Oh, yeah, Breece Hall.
Yeah, who's been injured since week 5. That might be the part of the problem. That's,
What happened to James Robinson?
Yeah. He's seemingly, they traded for him and then went, nah, I don't like him. Because they've not played, he played him.
No.
He's been a healthy scratch a lot of the time.
He didn't get on the field this game.
Michael Carter.
Zonovan Knight was the leading rusher, 12 carries for 22 yards.
Yeah. I think it's a bit reductive to say they're just a quarterback away, because we've seen. If Breece Hall comes back, great.
But it's more than Breece Hall, because they've also lost their left tackle. Mm-hmm. They're starting left tackle.
Left guard as well.
Left guard, yep. Starting left tackle, left guard. They've basically got a reverse Texans.
that sounds nasty.
But no, they've lost. If you think about it, any team gets better with hopefully a decent quarterback, one of the leading running backs in the league after 5 games, and an upgraded O-line.
That's true.
You take the rest of the offense and the defense, they're in a good place.
Paul, are you saying next season the Jets can finish above the Patriots?
I'm saying next season the Jets are going to be in the playoffs.
Oh, that's a big shout. I do like Garrett Wilson.
It's double or nothing next season.
I know.
No, you'll be getting nothing. Yes, Garrett
Wilson.
Wilson. They've got some really good.
I think he could be offensive rookie of the year. He's been really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
It'll be a Olave.
Oh, they both got over 1,000 yards. By the way, the first pair of wide receivers from the same school to get over 1,000 yards in their first season.
Oh, really?
Both from Ohio State. Yeah.
Ah, very cool.
While you're mentioning college football,
Yeah.
do you want to very briefly touch upon last night's non-existent game?
Yeah, already.
Was it 65-7?
It's 65-7 to
yeah.
Georgia, back-to-back college football titles. And that is a shellacking and a half. I mean, I thought I had bleary-eyed misread that this morning and was like, nah, what?
It's kind of both surprising and not surprising. Like, it shouldn't be that way in any final, really, because you're expecting the best 2 teams to be there. But let's be honest with you, TCU got a fluke win over Michigan, and Michigan fucked it up.
Even so, 65.
No, it's terrible.
I don't.
Is Garrett Stetson going
Stetson Bennett.
Garrett Stenson.
Aaron,
I was reading about this because apparently some NFL evaluators are saying he's probably a 5th round pick at best.
For a double national champion Heisman finalist.
He is quite small. He's 5'11". No offense, Griff.
I'm taking
He's not as accurate. He does make some funny decisions. Like, there are games he's brilliant.
playing with his cock out was weird.
But there are also games where he just doesn't read the field that way that well. I mean, the thing's always going to be he's a winner. And you're like, you can't take that away, but.
But you can in the NFL. That's the joy of it.
You
put it in with Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, fair. But yeah, so I reckon, look, someone will take a punt on him because, to your point, like, he's a winner. He's a 2-time national champion. So yeah, he's worth a shot.
Speaking about people who are winners, Mike Tomlin's Steelers came in the playoff hunt, and with Tomlin's record on the line of never finishing under 500. Well, one of those two did not pay off because the Dolphins snuck into the 7th seed. The Steelers could not make it, even though they beat the Browns 14-20. But Tomlin preserves his record. He finishes 9-8 on the season. He has found his quarterback. He has found his wide receiver.
Yep.
They do have a running game. The defense is really good. The Steelers will be brilliant next year.
The O-line has become...
I think they're going to be
O-line isn't as bad as we feared.
it should have been terrible.
It should be poor, but it's actually quite competent.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say brilliant. I'd say competitive.
I think they'll be competitive. I think they'll...
One decent draft, I think.
I think it's actually a shame that the Dolphins won.
I agree. I think the Steelers would have been more fun.
The Steelers would have been more competitive in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
And yeah, like
It would have been nice for the Jets to finish on the same record as the Pats.
yeah,
That would have been good.
but
I am actually with Mike on this. You know, I'm wildly optimistic about teams on the upswing, but there's very few pieces they don't have, and also they're a young team, and you can see what Tomlin's done in the past.
yeah,
And you haven't got a Brady Pats to stop him every playoffs now.
Yeah, I've got a Lawrence Leg Jaguars though.
That's a comparison, right?
Yeah, but that's the Brady Pats we have at home.
Yeah.
Come on.
No, don't get me wrong. I like them. I think they're in a very difficult division going into next year.
But they've also, one of their main rivals in that division is paying £240 million to an idiot.
Yep.
So they're bound to have to make some roster sacrifices for that.
So the Browns do indeed need Watson to bounce back in 2023. I don't know about you guys. I haven't seen anything promising out of him in these last few games. He looks a shadow. I know he hasn't played. I get it.
it's had 2 years. I know the 2 years off. A lot. What he. Sometimes you look like some of his throws, like to like Amari Cooper. Like you think, oh, that reminds me of the innocent days of
Deshaun Watson
watching.
being a superstar.
Yeah.
I was liking him.
Yeah. I don't think he's just not sort of gelling with the scheme, and it's sort of highlighting.
Did they fire their offensive coordinator?
Yeah.
And then the Browns, yeah.
No, defensive.
Oh, sorry, defensive
Yeah,
coordinator.
sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, the offensive coordinator stays.
He just rubs me up the wrong way.
But yeah,
I was going to say you thumbed that in, but I didn't want that to sound wrong either.
but yeah,
I don't know. He needs an off season with this.
he does
team.
need an off-season.
And
He also needs some weapons. He's got Amari Cooper and
Nick Chubb.
but they're not using Nick Chubb. In the second half of this season, his productivity has.
He's got 1,500 rushing yards. How could
Yeah.
you say they've not used
The
him?
most since Jim Brown.
I know.
12 carries for 77 yards is John's point. Like, I understand he has
How many
the most.
how many throws did Watson have this week?
29.
29, yeah.
It's for a bloke who's not in rhythm. It's a lot to be putting on him, and you've got like I know Derrick Henry is brilliant. I think Chubb is the best running back in the league,
I'd agree with that.
and the second half since week 13,
Ironically,
his productivity has fallen off. I wonder why that is. They've just
Lazy?
They need to have an off season. Think of how to scheme this properly.
I think
If they can, and the defensive coordinator comes in, and they actually use their defensive weapons, that could be a really brilliant team. But it's the Browns, so it's going to be tinged in failure.
The AFC North should be the most competitive AFC division next season.
I think the Browns went into the season knowing it's going to be a throwaway season.
Yeah.
I don't think they ever expected to do well, which is why I think Kevin Stefanski's still got a job, because I think he was given a free hit in terms of okay, we know you're going to be playing him a backup quarterback. We know you're hamstrung slightly because we're paying the quarterback a shit ton of money. Use the last 5-6 games that Deshaun Watson's there, get him up to speed, have a full off season, and then next season, come back to school ready to go. And if you have a terrible 2023, sorry, mate, you're gone.
If I put the pressure on and said, right, week 9 next season, Kevin Stefanski, is he still in his job? What do you think?
Yeah, because I
Yeah,
think
I
he'll
think-
still be in contention.
Yeah.
Week 18, I don't think.
I think it'll be the full season. I think
Yeah.
there'll have to be something like 1-5 or 1-6 for them to make a stupid
He needs
decision.
to be. It needs to be Matt Rule.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got one season left, I think.
Let's go from the negative to the positive then. The Chiefs wrapped up the number 1 seed, 31-13 over the Raiders. Lovely to see the Raiders coming back down to earth. That did make everybody feel better. Andy Reid has wrapped up the number 1 seed for the 6th time, I think, but never won the Super Bowl as the number 1 seed.
Till this season.
Well,
Yeah.
quite possibly. Look.
They're my pick.
Oh, that.
Yeah, but you say that every year. Apart from the year they won.
Also true.
They'd let me down the year before. That was the problem.
Yeah, look, we know what we're getting from the Chiefs. Let's park that slightly till we preview the playoffs. But with regards to the Raiders, what did they learn in these last 2 games? They've binned off long-term quarterback Derek Carr. They had a really good performance from Jarrett Stidham last week. They had a really tepid performance from him this week. Josh Jacobs has come out and said, look, I do want to play here, but I don't want to be part of a team that's not competitive. What have they learned this season with their new head coach, with the change of quarterback? Because they don't have many people under contract for next year.
Bringing in a new head coach was a terrible idea.
Games last a full hour.
If your coach can't cheat, you're not very good.
So you're not impressed?
Oh.
Well, I'm sorry. This was a team that should have performed better.
They've gone from playoffs and added Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
And got worse.
Oh, and not only just Devontae Adams, Chandler Jones.
He's been
Non-existent.
yeah.
Apart from steamrolling Mac Jones.
Yeah.
There was that.
This is a team that should be doing better. And for me, the blame is purely on the head coach.
Said it all season. His system is too complicated. He's too wedded to it. Good coaches coach to the talent that they've got on the roster. He's trying to insist that they play his system. It's not working. Now, it might work next year, but only if you bring Tom Brady in, who's used to Josh McDaniel's system.
And this is it. One of the reasons that made, in my opinion, please correct me if you feel I'm wrong,
You're
made
wrong.
Belichick so good was his ability to adapt to what he had. If you've got a great special teams players, great, we're going to use special teams. If we've got the best defense in the league, which they mostly did, they'd use it. If you have these amazing suite of wideouts, you're going to rely on them. It felt very much like
All season they've had, and you said Nick Chubb's the best running back. I think Josh Jacobs is a top 5 running back. They've had him in the stable, and they've not used him enough.
Agreed.
Yeah. I like Josh Jacobs. I'd like to see him move.
Yeah, I want to see him go somewhere else as well.
I don't want to see him as
Wasted.
well. Yeah, he's
wasted.
wasted. And
Tell you
as
what,
well, that offensive line is appalling.
Miles Sanders is a free agent after this season. Eagles, bin him off and go and get Josh Jacobs.
Yep.
Because then you'll be looking amazing. Well, you're pretty amazing already, but you'll be even better.
I mean, that would be brilliant because you just wouldn't know what they're going to do.
Exactly.
You don't know anyway with Miles Sanders, who Pro Bowl quality that he is.
I wish people could see the gritted teeth.
Oh no, it's not through gritted teeth. It's Jim's.
My gritted teeth.
I wanted to make Jim cry by just mentioning the Pro Bowl, but he would make all but probably 5 teams in this league better.
Yeah,
I agree.
And last week I quite liked that Stidham, stood up to a lot of pressure, made important throws. And this week,
teams had a week worth of tape on him.
yeah, and was it? I forgot his name. Chris
Jones.
Chris Jones had a field day, didn't he?
He's
6
brilliant.
sacks.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he's easily overtaken Aaron Donald as the best defensive tackle in the league.
I mean, it might have been the most dominant defensive line performance of the season. But then he will be giving Stidham nightmares.
Yeah,
still.
the Raiders' offensive line is still not good. It hasn't been good for years. And neither is the whole of their defense.
But they had 4 first-round picks.
I know. You think about all those first-round picks that they had from the Khalil Mack trade, other trades, and you look at the team and there's Max Crosby, and you're like, okay, what else?
2-time Pro Bowler.
Yeah. I mean, Max Crosby's a good player, don't get me wrong.
He's the man Nick Bosa wishes to be.
Yes.
Right, Ravens 16, Bengals 27, a preview of the playoff matchup coming for next week. Are the Bengals the best team in the AFC right now, in form, coming to the end of the season? No?
It's very hard to say against this Ravens team.
Well, it is, but I still think the Chiefs are better than them.
Yes, I agree.
I'm not sure.
They do seem to have the
Bengals
Chiefs
are very
number,
good.
though.
The Bengals are very good. I'd worry they're having offensive line issues at just the wrong time.
Alex Kappa went out injured in this game.
And they've already lost
Lyle
Collins. Like that's the right side of his offensive line, which is how he went into the playoffs last year. I don't think it happens again.
At least we do know the Bengals can win when Joe Burrow gets sacked about 40 times a game.
Yeah.
They can still somehow win. So you have got that going for you. And I think they are a very good team. That they should be very competitive in the playoffs. But yeah, I'd still take the Chiefs over them.
Yeah. And do you worry that in the second half the Ravens just stop them? Like in the second half, the Bengals.
I do.
Was anyone really trying?
I do and I don't, because the Ravens' defense is really, really good. Like,
Patrick Queen and Roquan Smith were trying.
Yeah.
Sorry, I meant on the Bengals. Was anyone that bothered on the Bengals team?
I think as soon as they got the game won, I think like any good team should, and we'll come on to this later.
They didn't look afraid of Anthony Taylor or whatever. Anthony Brown.
Well, the thing is, the difference between the two teams in this game was, in the first half, they punished Anthony Brown. They picked him off a couple of times.
Tell you what, put Josh Jacobs on this team instead of Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
Who's just gone off a cliff after last year.
Well, they don't really run the ball.
I know, but even so, like his numbers haven't been good this year. I've always been a fan of Joe Mixon, but this year it's just been a bit.
I think
dire.
I get the feeling it doesn't matter who you. I think anyone would have struggled this year just because they're not using the run game as much.
So, does Lamar's return make the Ravens a playoff contender? I know we're going to
define the word contender.
Okay, bearing in mind they're going to be playing against
the Bengals.
Next week. Can the Ravens beat the Bengals with Lamar? Because they cannot beat them without him.
They can, yes.
They can.
Will they?
Well,
probably not.
I also don't think Lamar will play.
I'm not sure.
Well, he's obviously not 100% fit.
But is this for Lamar, or is this just a business decision? Don't get injured because I haven't got a contract.
There are mumblings that this is not fitness related.
So who's making who's making a decision, Lamar or the Ravens? Because either way,
you can't go into the playoffs with one of the best quarterbacks in the league out, and that'd be their decision. Surely,
you'd think not. But if
I
they don't think they can win it,
it could be Lamar's decision because he's saying if I'm going to get. He's got no contract after this year, right? As soon as they lose, his contract is effectively over. So if he's making that decision to say, right, I don't want to get injured because I've got no pay packet coming next year, you can understand that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it sends a crappy message to the rest of your teammates.
Oh, yeah.
You're selfish. You're not there for your team. Look at what Joe Burrow goes through last year, getting sacked, like we said, 40 times a game. That's what it felt like. Look what other quarterbacks have done in the league this year. Mike White, the Jets quarterback, 5 broken ribs, and he carried on playing.
Yeah. The fact that they rested the other bloke.
Yeah, Tyler Taylor.
Tyler Huntley.
Tyler Huntley.
Like, they're resting Tyler Huntley, I think, because then they don't know.
I think that's probably it.
And
that means that if Tyler Huntley plays, he's an upgrade on Anthony Brown. But Lamar adds so much to that team, and I get the feeling it's over. I don't think we ever see him in purple again. I
completely agree with you. I wouldn't be surprised to see them franchise tag him and then trade him to the Dolphins.
Jets, Falcons. There's so many quarterback needy teams.
You're saying Desmond Ridder is not the answer?
I'm saying
he hasn't got as long a neck.
I'm saying he'd sell tickets in Las Vegas. Why not?
Desmond Ridder?
No.
No, Desmond Ridder can have a job selling tickets.
Yeah, literally selling tickets.
Okay, let's talk about a team that should have rested more players. The Chargers,
yeah.
28,
fucking
Broncos,
idiots.
31. Starters risk, but Russ cooks at last. Mike Williams injures his back because he was playing deep into the second half. Justin Herbert was still playing in the fourth quarter. What the absolute...
Because they were locked into the fifth seeds. They weren't moving up. They weren't moving down. No matter what happened, they got the fifth seed was theirs.
That's
what are you doing?
a man scared for his job.
Yeah, completely agree. And we'll talk about Black Monday later, but I still think there's one or two playoff teams that you could
been impactful yet.
you could see a coach leave his job.
Yeah, definitely.
I've not rated that man pretty much this entire season.
It's such a Chargers thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like as soon as either Keenan Allen or Mike Williams have been injured, the Chargers team haven't looked the same. The last couple of weeks where they've both been fit, they've looked brilliant. And with Justin Herbert now, I think fully fit after his injury, they've looked great. Eckler's had an amazing season. Why risk it all in a game that's just meaningless and away from home?
And they were losing.
Not even
They were
at
still
home either. Like you're not even there trying to keep a home crowd happy.
I understand teams playing their starters maybe till the half.
Yeah,
But beyond that, it was
There's
crazy.
nothing to play for.
He's done this before. He's played Justin Herbert hurt before.
Yeah.
And we're like, what is
Not
Brandon
this
Staley
season.
doing? Yeah.
The fans are pretty smart. Nobody's going to go there with knowing they're locked in the fifth seed, demanding to see 4 quarters of
You know
Justin Herbert.
Jerry Bosa hasn't been fit all this year. Khalil Mack's a bit old. They could have done with probably a rest. Derwin James is always like half a heartbeat away from being injured. Give him a rest.
Derwin James, the Ledley King of the NFL.
Yeah, exactly. This is one of the most injury-prone teams in the league at the moment. Like you've nailed a playoff game. Have a bye week. Help yourself to a bye week.
Yeah.
All right, this game was a dead rubber, but let's talk about something that amused me at the very least. What would be the most Texans thing you could do with your terrible season? That's right. We've
moved on to the game. I was going to talk about Russ Wilson.
We don't need to talk about Russ Wilson. The bloke's a
Cool. Let's talk about the Texans.
Let's talk about the Texans. So, the Texans put up 32 points. The Colts only managed a meager 31 points. Lovie Smith defies the back office by looks of things and loses the first pick by insisting on making his team win a game, and it costs him his job on Black Monday.
So, what do you think came first? Did Lovie Smith know that he was going to get fired?
Yes.
Or was it he lost the game? He won the game, and then it's like, that's the final nail in the coffin.
He suspected he was getting fired.
Yeah, I think he knew.
And then was told, make sure you get the number 1 seed, and went, fuck that.
You. Yeah.
and just went, because his big grin on his face during the press conference was like a man who was like, we won the game, as if I was going to tell people that we should lose.
If only he was like a Chicago Bears legend.
As well, yeah.
that wouldn't make it at all even more suspicious.
Yeah. The Texans actually played all right here, but we should point out that Jeff Saturday was another Shatterday here. This was. They won 1 game of his 8 games in charge
against the Raiders.
Oh, shock horror! Team gets a head coach who's got no coaching experience, and they're shit.
Yeah, it was less than ideal, and yet Jeff Saturday claiming he still wants the role full time.
Yeah, so do I.
Me too.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Jim Irsay looks like he wants to hire Jeff Saturday because he likes him.
I like him as well. It seems like a nice guy.
Paul, you want to throw your hat in the ring for the job?
I don't see the issue. If you like somebody, you should be able to hire them.
No one is claiming that that's the issue.
It's his money. Let him waste it.
What we're saying is he's not very good.
Yeah, but there's lots of not good coaches in the league. Brandon Staley's got the team to the playoffs and he sucks.
Well, I really enjoyed this game because the highlight of it being that the Texans had to win it by going for 2, and they got it. They went for 2 and got it.
I also think there's a little bit of the Colts where they're like, we'll let them win this because we don't want our rivals getting the top pick.
Yeah,
but maybe, absolutely. I'm not sure they think it that through that clearly.
I don't think anything the Colts do is intentional.
We will cover all the teams and what they need to do for next year in another podcast. But these are 2 of, if not the 2, worst franchises.
You can write like 20,000-page essays about what these 2 franchises need to do to try.
You could also just write one word, which is shit, and that would describe them both. You'd probably put the Colts in bold because they're shitter,
As a team.
I am not having this. The Texans are shitter than the Colts.
Well, if you go onto the website, I wrote a toxic Texans article because as a franchise, that franchise is toxic.
Everything about them is appalling.
Terrible.
And they beat the Colts.
Yeah.
Like when they fired Frank Reich, they were 3-3-1. Remember that?
Yeah, it's true.
Then they put it on Matt Ryan and gave it to just the first bloke that Jim Irsay, woke up hungover. I was like, and I'm glad he's doing that rather than driving. I think because when I got back into the sport, the Colts had Peyton, and then they had Andrew Luck, and you were used to the Colts competing. And this is really sad to watch because they have some decent players.
They do.
Did you see Dexter Lawrence last week destroy Quentin Nelson?
Yes.
And that's Quentin Nelson.
Yeah, but that's also sexy Dexy.
All pro fucking guard there being but by a huge individual. But you've not seen that happen in his time so far. I think the whole thing needs burning down, moving back to Baltimore, fuck off, and
Where you going to put the Ravens?
The Indianapolis Ravens.
Yeah.
They can still be the Baltimore Ravens. They can have two Baltimore teams. I hate the Colts right now.
May them bolt you less.
Quick aside, this was my favourite thing.
And they beat the fucking Chiefs.
The Texans won against the Colts when the Colts had scored 31 points. The Patriots didn't beat anyone who scored more than 21 points against them this season because they suck on offense. Brandon Cooks, by the way, come out this evening and said he will not be there to be part of a rebuild. Get me out of here now.
Can't blame him.
Yeah. No, of course not.
He's a good wide receiver. You always put stats up.
Yeah, but seeing how his career path goes, he now has to pick up his bindle and find a new home.
Right, a few permutations in the NSDC still to shake out too. Seahawks 19, Rams 16. The Hawks clinch the 7th seed. Their first playoff appearance without Russell Wilson in 11 years. Last quarterback to take them to the playoffs.
Hasselbeck.
It was indeed Hasselbeck.
They're going to get the ball and they're going to win.
Yeah, that's the one. So it's all aboard the Geno Express, but more about McVay, which we will come to later. But the rumour has it he is done with the Rams, and you can sort of see why. He just looks exhausted of losing football this season. But
so win then.
Yeah. So you can't fault what the Seahawks have done this year. Nope. We all wrote them off. Some of us had them down for 2 or 3 wins tops this season. Admittedly, we all thought they were starting Drew Lock. But Pete Carroll, who I don't much rate, has had an outstanding season of coaching. And it's been brilliant. I don't expect them to do anything in the playoffs. But what a brilliant effort to get there with a completely restructured team.
Well,
Coach of the year.
It shouldn't really be as much of a surprise as it is, because one of the things we kept saying about Pete Carroll is he's still like a college coach, and he's got such a young team he's moulding. The picks that they made have just been brilliant. Tyler
Kenneth
Lockett,
Walker, III.
Kenneth Walker, III has been great. Tyler Lockett is probably the most underrated wide receiver in the league right now.
But he has been for about 5 years.
Yeah. But I think for a few years you didn't underrate him too much because he's got Russell Wilson throwing to him.
Yeah, but you overrated Russell Wilson by what we saw.
I know, and but no, what they've done is brilliant. I think they've got in on early season form. It's a shame they're sort of limping they've got into the playoffs because they played the Rams, who can't get out their own way. They had the right matchup in the right week.
They almost did though. I thought the Rams were okay this week.
Yeah, Cam Akers played well again. 21 carries, 104 yards.
And for the running back that was never going to see the field again in Rams colours, he's been great.
I think it says more about the Seahawks.
Yeah, I agree. But I said Pete Carroll as coach of the year because, again, you look at least as a contender, because we all had the Seahawks as dead last in the NFC West for good reason. Like, they're a young team, no experience, Geno Smith or Drew Lock at quarterback, a defense which we weren't really enamored up by, a running game which, all right, if Kenneth Walker's great, then great, but look at the history of drafting running backs over the last few years, it's not been great. And they're in the playoffs. They've got a 9-8 record. You can't doubt what great coaching job that he's done.
Pete Carroll was coach of the year for the first half of the year. And then the second half of the year, it's Doug Pederson, Dan Campbell. Like,
Dayball for the whole year.
But for the first half of the year, the Seahawks were electric. Then they sort of reverted back to sort of the team we thought they were. And they are limping in. It's a shame.
Gino throwing a pick on his first pass of the day did not help. The game was only 10 seconds old when he got picked off. It's not ideal, but
they are the NFC equivalent of the Dolphins.
They do not capitulate. Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Is it safe to say there's no standout candidate for head coach of the year this year?
I think it's
Yeah. But don't forget the Giants sucked in the middle of the season.
They turned it round.
I think that I'm with Griff. I think Dayball has done fine.
Bless you.
I don't think there's a standout candidate. I think there's been a few, O'Connell, what he's done with the thing. Sirianni.
Yeah, you can make an argument for a lot of them.
Andy Reid.
Andy Reid is wrapped up another one.
Yeah.
Tomlin.
Shanahan.
Yeah, my vote
Shanahan.
goes to Tactical Walrus.
Yeah. There's loads that have done really good jobs. There's no,
There's no brilliant.
No brilliant
No.
one.
Right, okay. So, the Seahawks win meant that the late game on Sunday was a slightly damp squib because it meant the Lions could not qualify for the playoffs.
Gutted.
But the Packers still could.
But they could fuck it up for someone else.
So all the Lions had to go on was, let's stop Aaron Rodgers making the playoffs. And boy, did they. Lions 20, Packers 16. Packers failed to overcome the Lions and miss out on the last spot. And Dan Campbell went balls out. They converted fourth down after fourth down to just take this out of the Packers' hands entirely. And then on the field afterwards, Aaron Rodgers refusing to swap shirts, getting people talking about the fact that this may be one that he wants to keep because that's his last game.
God, here we go again.
I know it feels like Brett Favre 3.0. I don't know. I think he should go. I think he's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
if I was the Packers, I'd want him to go as well.
Oh, I think they're desperate for him to go. They wanted him to go before, and then he didn't commit to going, and they gave him a load of money because they don't want to be seen as the franchise that pushed him out. But I think he has to go. I think it's done.
Yeah. I mean, if they could, even if he wants to come back, but he can think he's got 2 years.
Trade him.
Trade him.
I think the Packers got good at the back end of this season. Once there started to be a connection between Aaron Rodgers and his wide receivers. Christian Watson, if he had had a start to the season as he has at the end of the season, we'd be talking about him as Defensive Rookie of the Year because I think he has been brilliant. For me, that's on Aaron Rodgers. You're the quarterback. You're the leader of that offense. Loads and loads of quarterbacks in the off-season ring up the receivers and go, right, let's start throwing. Let's start practicing outside the facility on their own merit because they know they have to kind of build that chemistry. Aaron Rodgers fucks off and does what Aaron Rodgers wants to do.
Takes drugs.
Doesn't want to be. He doesn't.
Ayahuasca.
Yeah, he's selfish. He doesn't want to be a team.
Denies 9/11.
And also, he was outplayed by Jared Goff.
Yeah, exactly. Like if he had had a connection with Christian Watson from day one and Romeo Dobbs, who's to say that they wouldn't have won 2 more games and they'd be in the playoffs right now?
They most likely would have done.
Yeah.
Well, what's the weakness of the Lions? It's the defense.
Yeah.
The Packers in 2 games.
Soft underbelly.
The Packers scored 25 points against the Lions this year.
It's not
In
good.
2 games. The Bears in 1 scored 30. And they're shit.
It's true.
They're really shit.
They're literally the shittest
pleased
team
for
in the
Dan Campbell,
NFL.
though.
I'm pleased
You
for
get the
Dan-
feeling the players
Yeah.
would do anything for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm
Other than win enough to get them into the playoffs.
Ouch.
Good draft, and I think they're competitive in the NFC North.
And they're picking top 6.
Yeah.
that Christmas Eve loss to the Panthers is really hurting.
The only game they lost in their last 7.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous thing, but I get the feeling the offensive coordinator might go, which will be a shame.
By that you mean hired by someone else?
Yeah, he'll be stolen.
Yeah.
It'll be like, I think he sort of matches Dan Campbell's chaotic energy, like of willing to go for it on 4th and 12.
They would be a great punk band, by the way. Dan Campbell's chaotic energy. I would listen to them if they strode out on the stage at Wembley. I would absolutely be there.
He'd give you no choice but to listen to them.
Right, Giants 16, Eagles 22. Eagles finally clinching the number 1 seed against the Giants' backups. We read nothing into this game because you played people. I mean,
I will not have you slander Davis Webb in my house.
Hang on, you read nothing into this game except that the Eagles had all their first team out. And I mean, they didn't exactly smash the Giants.
No, they did not. They did not.
But these are people literally playing for their careers.
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying. But they're still backups,
Terrible,
aren't they?
Yeah.
I would have thought the Eagles should have won this by more. That's the only thing I'll say.
It's a tricky one when, again, you don't have tape on a lot of people on the other team. But, yeah, Davis Webb, 23 of 40 for 168 yards. And then Lawrence Cager and Jamie Gillan both had sort of attempts. Jamie Gillan getting absolutely crushed was hilarious.
Yeah.
What did the guy say? The Scottish Hammer
getting nailed.
Yeah, that didn't go well. That's the second time this season they've done that trick play, by the way, and it hasn't worked either time.
Yeah.
Gary Brightwell.
Gary Brightwell, didn't he play for West Brom in the 90s?
11 carries for 60 yards, that's decent.
Yeah, and then Lawrence Cager was your lead receiver, 8 receptions, 69 yards.
Yeah, but Kenny Golladay got a touchdown.
Yeah. Just in time for the playoffs.
Playoff Kenny. Imagine if he scores a hat-trick in the playoffs. I'm getting you a Golladay shirt if he does that.
I'm holding you to that.
That's perfectly fine, you should. Look,
That'll be very cheap in a few weeks' time.
I don't think there's a lot safe in this. No. I'm not sure. I think the Eagles knew they could coast it. It's about time they locked it up. They'd have done it weeks ago if Hurts had been fit.
They were like the score makes it seem closer than it was. We scored right at the end. It's fine. It was important for Hurts to get a game because he's now got a week off.
Yeah.
Which is also a good thing for him. But yeah, not much to read into this other than, we rested Isaiah Hodgins and whatever is James. Reece James. Like
Rick James.
Richie James, yeah.
Richie James.
And yet the Chargers couldn't rest Mike Williams.
No, exactly.
Or
Yeah.
Justin Herbert. Right.
Yeah.
So the Eagles clinching means the Cowboys did not take advantage. They were still fighting, trying to get higher seeding. But they only scored 6 points and lost to Sam Howell's Commanders 26-6. The result overall means little to anyone, but this is not...
It's another limping, isn't it?
Not a good look for Mick McCarthy. It's not a good look for him because I think he's another one whose name will soon be cast out if they do not make noise in the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's
Agreed.
funny how Sean Payton is casting a shadow over so many sort of playoff teams. Like these aren't shitty teams. It's the fucking Cowboys and the Chargers, and the head coaches are so unwilling to. It's bizarre.
But you said it earlier when we were talking about Belichick. Okay, if you get rid of Belichick, who are you going to get?
Ghostbusters. Oh, no.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing with some of these franchises. They're looking at it and go, Sean Payton's out there, Super Bowl winning coach, probably got the Saints more wins than they perhaps deserved in his time there. And I've got Mick McCarthy or Brandon Staley.
We've got the garage crew.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, why wouldn't he be casting a shadow? And, those coaches should be looking over their shoulder because the Cowboys were horrible on Sunday.
All he needs to do is win a playoff game. They ain't done that in a while.
I think he's got to win more than one.
He's got to get
I think he's got. He needs to win. He needs to win.
I'm not sure one's enough. I have to say, but look, they're in the dance. He's ticked the box. Everybody's first box to tick is, do I get in?
Yeah, that's true.
Did they get in last year, the Cowboys?
Yes, because they got beaten by the 49ers.
Is it not the first time since 2002-3 that they've made consecutive, or 3-4 that they've made consecutive playoffs?
Yeah, I think it's something.
It was a really long time. It was getting on for 20 years since they'd made consecutive playoff seasons, which is not to be sniffed at. So
mental.
it is indeed mental.
Then lost a home playoff game to the 49ers.
The Commanders. I mean, Sam Howell might be the only quarterback under contract next season.
Yep,
I believe.
He didn't look terrible.
No, he didn't. They don't have Heineke under contract. Wentz. I mean,
he's under contract, but you can get rid of him for free.
So
he's
gone. You have to pay him off. But
can we finally have a concession at the table that Tyler Heineke is the best quarterback on this roster? Because I did claim this at the start of the season.
I really like what Sam Howell's doing.
I'm not saying anything bad.
I think I agree. He's
all I'm going to say is
number one.
Heineke is better than Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
And that is what
I'd rather have Carson Strong at this point than Carson Wentz.
He with no knees.
Better than him with no talent.
Riverboat Ron, yay or nay? Does he start next season as the head coach of the Commanders?
Yes.
What has he done wrong?
I mean, he didn't know that his team were getting eliminated when he started Carson Wentz.
I think he stays because I think there's too much upheaval in the back end.
There's nothing worse than upheaval in your back end, is there?
That's true.
I think he
Dan
does.
Schneider didn't attend the game this week because it looks like the rumours are he's obviously looking to sell. Looks like he could be selling. If that's the case, let me
word it a different way. Is there a higher chance that both of these head coaches start next season in charge of their teams, or that both of these coaches are not in charge of these teams at the start of next season?
Latter.
There's a higher chance of both of them being there.
I think the chances of both of them being there are slim.
Yeah.
But only because I don't think McCarthy makes it next year. Because, we'll get into why.
Yeah, we will. Okay, fine.
I can't see Jerry Jones doing the popular idea.
No, but I can see him doing something rash.
Jerry Jones is 104. He wants to win a Super Bowl. That's all he's interested in.
If betting the house on if he thinks betting the house on Sean Payton is going to get him a Super Bowl, I think he'll do it.
Right. Cardinals 13, 49ers 38. The Niners are the second seed, and they meet the Seahawks, which will be a fun game.
Will be.
More important, Kliff Clinkernuts finally gone. 4 years.
God.
He was 1 year into a massive contract extension. Steve Kine, the GM, has walked away as well. He was already on leave of absence for health reasons.
Walked before pushed.
Yeah. It's another about face for... I think the team over the last 3 seasons had been the third worst team behind the Jags and the Texans.
Wow.
I believe. But you don't forget they started 9-0 last year, and since then they've won 6 games. Wow. That is not good.
But Kyler's just got so good at Call of Duty since then.
See, he won't be back to start the season.
Nope.
Injured. Paul, injured.
I know.
You looked worried there.
I was just thinking in terms of I was about to say that there are some injuries away, and DeAndre Hopkins having his suspension did nothing for them. They're clearly a better team with him on the pitch, like any team would be.
Like being a better team with hands as opposed to no hands.
I'm better at holding stuff with hands. Yeah.
I think whoever comes in has got 2 years of pain on this roster. Because I think they've got they've got 1 year where they have to give Kyler Murray a chance.
I know everyone says that, but I don't get it.
Oh no! I look at who they have had instead.
David Blau's been fine.
That name again?
Fuck off.
David Blau.
Fuck
He's
off.
been fine. Kyler Murray is so overrated. It's ridiculous. Painfully overrated.
I think if you're willing to say that David Blau is fine, I think you need some sort of counselling.
He was proof that Kyler Murray is not doing enough.
I think if
the drop-off wasn't as big as you thought.
If David Blau is your starting quarterback, you've got to have a roster built very differently to how this roster is currently built.
Luckily, that's on the way because, of course, Watt's going.
Yeah.
And the other pass rushers going, Allen.
Yeah.
So they'll have they need to bring in 2 pass rushers.
A whole new defensive line, realistically.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they should be building around David Blau. What I'm saying is I don't understand all the hype around Kyler Murray. He just isn't a winner. He just isn't a winner.
I agree with you, but in the big scheme of things, they've given him a lot of money. So
they gave Kliff Clinkernuts a lot of money.
But they're also picking third, so they've got the potential for some teams who are desperate for a quarterback and a quarterback every draft. They could get some good capital, and they need O-line, they need edge. They could do well in those positions by trading out.
I think they could completely burn the roster down. Like they could trade
I think they
a
absolutely
whole
need to.
load of players to
So
get a
you need
load more
a
picks.
giant style.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Off-season.
That's why you've got 2 years of paying, because I think you've got 1 year to figure out if new coach has got 1 year to figure out if they want Kyler or not. And to your point, maybe they don't. I think you have to give them a chance with a new coach.
You know,
I just don't trust them to get the right coach.
the amount they paid him, you have to give him a
Yeah,
chance.
exactly.
Jim.
And then I think the second year is then if you're keeping Kyler Murray, you're building around him. But if you're getting rid of him, you're putting in a new quarterback.
Talk to me about the 49ers. Obviously, we'll do the previews shortly, but you must be more than delighted with how this season has ended up.
I never have expected
Do I
us to
ever
be
have to
13
hear the
and
name
4.
Trey Lance again? Nope, thought not.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because
Nope.
Brock Purdy's been really good.
The problem is it's
Can
how
I-
well he does in the next few games.
Yeah. Can we see him play some good teams? Because you haven't played anyone good in a while.
This is true. The back half of our schedule has been very easy.
Yeah.
And like,
He beat a team that were 9-0 last season.
True.
Last week he beat a playoff team.
Yeah.
Last season, there's nothing wrong with Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy looks like he's able to pick up the
Move.
scheme.
Yeah.
He moves. He's got
Fine players.
fine play, and he's got a running game.
I mean, he just had one of
Elijah
the
Mitchell
best-
being back helps.
I was going to say, getting Elijah Mitchell back, getting Deebo Samuel back helps. Even the defensive line is getting fitter as well. Like
He doesn't need to be Tom Brady to win
No.
this. He can win as a Trent Dilfer because the defense is as good
this is the roster where we say,
as the Ravens in 01.
you know, if David Blau was on here, might not do any different.
Name again
Yeah.
is David.
But this is it. They've got a roster. They haven't just got a quarterback and a whole load of other guys.
Brock Purdy for just for the sake of completing on the season, played in 9 games, has a 67% completion rate for 1,374 yards, 13 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. He's only been sacked 11 times.
That is a cracking record.
Yeah.
This
Brilliant.
is my point. Like the guy's
and,
awesome.
and your original point is like, if he carries on playing like that and they do well in the playoffs, win 1 game, maybe 2, then yeah, absolutely. You go into next season and he's your starter.
And he's
Because
going to cost you absolutely zip for years.
we've got another 3 years of him under contract where we're paying him next to nothing. I think, yeah.
Or you can trade him
Well,
because he like
But if he's playing as well, you trade Trey Lance.
yeah.
I would whatever you do. Like his value now is as high as
As it's ever
possibly
going to
can
be, probably.
And how many players do you see?
Did you
sort
trade
of
Nick
unheld-
Mullins and CJ Beathard?
Yeah, they're both gone.
Yeah. No,
Mullins was
No, yeah,
playing.
he
I
played
don't,
this
think
week.
I don't think they traded them. I think
They
they ran
were
out of
just
contracts.
released. Yeah, I
released.
wasn't sure.
I
Beathard's at the Jags as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
Mullins at the Vikings.
Yes.
Speaking of the Vikings, 29-13 over the Bears. Guess who has the number 1 pick? It is the Bears. For the first time,
Visually, the shittest team, isn't it?
first time since the 40s,
I know.
they've got the number 1 pick.
49, I think was it.
How has a franchise this shit not had the number 1 pick more often than
They've
that?
not been shit all that time.
They've picked number 2 a couple of times.
They were good in the 80s.
Yeah, exactly.
I was good in the 80s.
They got to Super Bowl in 2006.
They had Rex Grossman as their quarterback. They might as well have had you as their quarterback.
Still got to Super Bowl.
But that team was not built on Rex Grossman.
They got to the playoffs a couple of times with Cutler as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they took Mitch
Trubisky.
Mr. Biscuit.
Mr.
Yeah,
Biscuit to
went
the
to the
playoffs. You know,
They were a doink away from Mr. Biscuit progressing.
That's true as
from
well.
from stopping the Eagles
think-
getting to
yeah.
the Super Bowl.
I don't
Yeah.
think the Bears are in the league of the Texans.
Oh, no, but
Jets,
they're
the
in the
Browns.
next step up.
Yeah, okay, I'll agree with
I
that.
don't know how you can't have had more number 1 picks since 1949. That's all.
But they have the number 1 pick. But if I was a player, I'd join the Bears before I joined the Colts, the
Yep.
Texans, the
Yes.
Cardinals. Like anyone in the bottom 10, they're sellable because they have a quarterback. They have.
I mean,
cap
not this week.
space.
Their quarterback was Nate Peterman.
Yeah, no, but yeah.
Yeah, similar to the Chargers, they had nothing to play for. And
They're like this entire season.
Which is why it's like, right, okay, Justin Fields is maybe a little bit sick. All right, we'll leave him. We'll give him the week off because we don't want him getting absolutely ruined. We'll keep him for next season. They've now got the number 1 pick. If they're sensible and they've got the offer on the table, they'll trade out of it because they don't need a quarterback.
You're not getting the Bears in our mock draft.
But it's true, isn't it? I mean, this is why the Texans fucked up so much, because the Texans need a quarterback, and now the Texans really have to trade up to that spot.
They may have to. It depends who they want.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
If they've got two, they're fine. If there's two quarterbacks that they love, they're fine.
Bryce Young and
Davis Mills.
Will Levy.
No, they've got Davis Mills.
But you have Bryce Young. And
No.
you
If there's two quarterbacks in the draft.
Oh, my apologies.
CJ Stroud, Will Levy, the Kentucky quarterback. So if out of those three, if there's two they love, then they're fine. But if there's only one, then you've got to make a move up.
Okay. Anything to be said for the Vikings not limping into the playoffs? I know it was only the Bears, for anybody else to moan, but
They haven't looked good the last 2 weeks, really.
yeah, like they've actually
They sat all their starters at half time.
Yeah. But they've pretty much smashed their way in, which is what they were required to do.
That's
So
even four.
we've slagged off a couple of other teams. Really, this has been a really solid season. The Vikings have had some real lows, but the rest of the time they've been really good.
This is a really encouraging start for Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah, if he can fix the defense next year, they could be quite scary.
Paul, CJ Ham, 4 receptions, 47 yards.
Pound the ham.
I know that is your favourite thing to do. Okay. Bucks 17, Falcons 30. Brady's first losing season, despite the fact they take the NFC South.
So when he hits the seam, is that the ham wallet? I'm sorry.
Jesus Christ. Falcons finished strong, though, which is great for Arthur Smith.
Next season, they'll get a full Smith.
And again,
Fucking Jesus Christ.
Shall I leave my own house?
I think you should. We've got the chaos of you and the podcast dog just causing mayhem at the table. Look, you can't take a lot from this game other than the fact that basically the Bucks got within 3 points and were close to sort of overtaking the Falcons, and then Brady got sat and looked absolutely disgusted with the management for sitting him. He wanted to win this game so bad.
that's admirable, but this is the point where management has to overrule players for their own safety and for the team as a whole. You know, the Bucks have got the Cowboys. I'd rather the Bucks, to be honest with you.
Oh, we're going to talk about it, but I think that's going to be one that we're all going to pick.
And if that's a long-term view, then absolutely, you sit Tom Brady, you sit Godwin, you sit Evans, you sit anyone who's going to be your in your starting lineup should be sat, because again, there was nothing to play for them on this game.
Are you suggesting that Devin Tompkins won't be a key contributor next week?
I mean, his stats are pretty good. 1 carry for 17 yards, average of 17 yards.
No, I don't know what else you could want from the guy. 4 receptions, 25 yards.
Ridley got 2 touchdowns. That's
that's nice.
You know, they need to see what they've got there. I haven't seen enough to think that they definitely have their quarterback for next season.
They've got a wide receiver though,
Drake London.
Yeah, but they didn't have to give away. I know Drake London. I like Drake London. I think he's going to be very good. But for next season, remember they gave away Calvin Ridley for some beans.
I like that Olamide Zacchaeus turned up again strong at the end of the season.
I like hearing his name.
Algier, whatever his name is.
Yeah, Tyler Algier.
Yeah, 1,000-yard rushing season.
Yeah, did he creep over the...
Yeah, quietly got over 1,000 yards. That's he's not going to be offensive rookie of the year, but that's a good stat line.
Yeah, I hadn't realised.
Something to build on.
Yeah, I hadn't even realised he'd made it over. He actually has taken a lot of pressure off of Patterson.
1,035 yards to be exact.
Only 3 touchdowns, which is lacking.
Patterson gets a lot of touchdowns though.
Yeah, he had 8 this season,
and he missed a lot of the year as well through injury. So
nice of you to sneak in quietly with the dog back into the podcast there, Paul. That's the main thing. Don't worry, no one noticed. Right, last game on the roster for the regular season. Panthers 10, Saints 7. That is everything. We do not need to cover this game. It was utterly turd. Yeah. We will be back in the second half to talk about some games with meanings. Playoff preview. So, before we get into Super Wildcard Weekend preview...
Wow! Why do we have to call it Super Wildcard?
because that's what they call it. Paul just seen the acronym written down and was like looking at me like I'd gone special.
You wouldn't allow me to call it Wicked Wildcard Weekend again like last season.
No, I do not. Before we do that, I need nominations for your sweetest play of the week, brought to you by tootsweets.shop. Best be giving me some sweets for the Super Bowl.
Well, I believe so. That's what's going to happen.
Right, so we'll go around the table. I was saying I was picking the Naeem Hines 2 kickoff return touchdowns.
You have to pick one of them. You can't pick two.
Well, I'll pick
the first one.
I'll pick the first one because it was better.
I'm going for Kenny Golladay doing something on a football field.
Okay.
I'm going for a £72 million man doing his job once.
Did it well, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm going with.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is the issue for Kenny Golladay?
Kenny Golladay.
Is the issue for Kenny that
Nice.
Daniel Jones? Because Davis Webb comes in, first start, suddenly unlocks the potential.
Get out of my house.
John?
Stephon Diggs, touchdown.
Tyler Lockett, touchdown.
We have a massive issue here because there's no fifth person to break the tie.
It's a dog.
I'm Gary, and I think it should be Kenny Golladay.
No, Gary would never say
I
that.
flat refuse to give anything to Kenny Golladay. All those in favour of eliminating Kenny Golladay say aye. Aye.
So, Paul, you pick.
Yep. You get to pick from the other
The
three.
kick return, Stephon Diggs,
Tyler
Lockett.
Kick return.
Oh, the kick return takes it. Naeem Hines.
Sentimental value.
Yeah, well, nothing wrong with
It was
that.
a good kick return.
It was a good kick return.
Their first kick return touchdown.
Toot
in
sweet
3 years and
friends.
3 months.
Really? Very impressive. Right.
Number 3 featuring heavily.
Super Wildcard Weekend. We will start with the NFC because we started with the AFC earlier, so it only seemed fair.
As the first game as
The
well.
first game
Yeah.
up will be Seahawks at Niners. So
Super Wildcard. Yeah.
So the Geno coaster moved on. They will be given no hope against this Niners defense. But somebody at this table tell me why the Seahawks could upset the apple cart. Anyone. Give me something.
Underdog.
Kenny
Chip on the
Walker
shoulder.
IR.
Yeah, exactly.
The defense for the Seahawks it's not Legion of Boom, but it's pretty good. And
We've always had trouble against DK Metcalf as well.
The Niners lose championship games and Super Bowls. They don't lose here.
So you're telling me there's no way.
I'm not saying there's no way. Like, as well, let's say the pressure gets to Brock Purdy.
Yep.
That's
fair.
It could happen. We've seen games where Kyle Shanahan sometimes has sort of outfought himself. Like, this is a team that's lost to the Falcons this year and were appalling in that game. Like, I'm not saying it's a no-hoper, but...
I will just, on that note, I will just point out 3 of the 4 games that we lost were to the Bears, the Falcons, and the Broncos.
Yeah.
So that's fine. You'll beat the Seahawks because you lose to bad teams.
Yeah, we lose to really bad teams.
But does it help that this is the worst team in the playoffs?
No, we're there.
No, I'll take the Giants over the Seahawks.
I take the Giants over the Seahawks.
But I just
The Jags are there.
Look, we always say this about
the Dolphins?
We say this about divisional games, don't we? They know each other so well.
There's Lamarless Ravens here.
They know each other so well that could be what trips up the 49ers. I think they're currently 10-point favourites, but if you're Pete Carroll and you've got that way of kind of geeing up your teams in terms of like, that's all you need to point to. You need to just point to the fact that no one's rating you. Everyone thinks you'll get absolutely bulldozed by this defense and you can't do anything on offense.
Yeah.
Everyone's hyping up Brock Purdy. That's all you've got to do as a coach. Put that up on a wall and just let the guys go.
I was just looking here at the injury reports for the Seahawks. Travis Homer still on injured reserve. But I see the top name on the 49ers questionable list is a linebacker. Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles.
Flanagan Fowles is a big part of our team.
Is he? Because I have never fucking heard of him.
But if you were to tell me it's San Francisco's Flanagan Fowles, I would have thought this is somebody from the 1740s.
I'm sure I've seen them at the Cambridge Folk Festival.
I do. They sound like a 3-piece folk group.
He must have a fucking huge shirt as well.
Didn't Demetrius Flanagan Fowles sort your divorce?
Would have been a damn sight cheaper. Who the fuck is that guy?
I don't know.
Top of your injury report, my ass. Fuck's sake. Okay, so I absolutely expect the Niners to win this, but I do think it could be close.
No.
I just think Pete Carroll could put pressure
Yeah.
on
You don't
agree.
You don't
Brady.
generally get blowout playoff games.
This could be the game where Christian McCaffrey proves his worth. If Brock Purdy is under too much duress, it could have to go through McCaffrey.
Christian McCaffrey's already proved his worth. But yeah, no,
Yeah,
I
but you
agree
know
with
what
you.
I mean.
I agree with your point.
It makes teams second guess the offense having CMC there, and also Debo coming
Debo
back.
back.
You're going to
Yeah.
triple guess them now.
Brandon Ayuk had his first 1,000-yard season.
He
as well.
did 1,048 yards. Very impressive.
And Kittle's been consistent. as
Five
well.
touchdowns from
Touchdown machine.
Yeah.
He's not getting the yards
And
that
that's
he used to
what-
get.
That's what makes you a scary prospect this
Yeah.
offseason.
It's
Well,
just-
it shows you've got
Off-season,
a
postseason.
rookie quarterback who's throwing to his tight end.
2 rookie quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. Right.
No.
Moving from the Niners, where Jim and Gary will be nervously chewing their nails, to the Cowboys. Cowboys going to Minnesota to take on the Vikings.
Nope.
We are.
Yeah.
Ti-
Sorry,
The
the
Giants are
going
going to Minnesota.
To Minnesota to take on the Vikings. Give me reasons why the Giants will win.
Look, I'm just happy we're here.
No.
I-
Off the fence. Why will you win? Because I
We
don't
have-
think this is a foregone
Okay,
conclusion.
so we have one of the best running backs in the league. We have upswing. We have a new head coach. We have a rookie head coach. We have momentum, and we have hope, which has not been in New York for years. And also, we have a decent defense. Our D line is scary.
Okay.
Yep.
Most of those points you've just made also apply to the Vikings. We'll say that.
Their defense is scary for other reasons.
Yes. The defense aside.
But I think this is. Well, we played 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
It was a one at the death by a Greg Joseph field goal.
Yeah.
Because that's what the Vikings do.
Yep.
I have faith in Daboll to learn from that. It's funny how often teams play each other in the regular season, one wins, and then in the playoffs, the other team adjusts. I have faith that we can move the ball enough, and we have enough on defense to stop them blowing us out. Because that's what happens sometimes, like when the Vikings have had big games, and like the Colts, and I'm trying to think of other big games they had. Lions, I think. Like they've had good games where they've blown teams away, but on those they've come back. I think if we can start strong, bloody the nose a bit, I think we have enough to hold them off compared to teams that suck.
Paul just pointing out to me that Kirk Cousins' playoff record is 1-3, whereas Daniel Jones is an immaculate 0-0.
Yeah. Ooh.
So prime time. Danny Dimes.
This is a new experience for a lot of this team.
Most of this team, in fact.
Yeah.
But I also have a lot of faith in Daboll that he'll be able to keep them grounded. It won't be be too much for them. I haven't heard that they're in Miami taking photos on a boat.
They're not on a boat, motherfucker.
If you found out any member of that roster was on a plane heading to Florida, you'd sack them on the spot.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
When's this game being played?
Saturday.
Would you say it's a primetime slot?
All
All
playoff
playoff
games,
games,
in
I
the
suppose,
prime
are prime time slots, and this is the issue with Kirk Cousins.
Doesn't perform well under the lights.
He
I know
does
he's been better, but I think that's one concern I have, is that for some reason he doesn't perform well under the big lights. I don't know why.
Well, I shall spoil the surprise then. I'm taking the Giants in this game. I think the Giants win, and I've been championing the Vikings.
Fucked us.
I've been championing the Vikings. They've been my team, but I don't fancy them against an underdog. I think this is the sort of game where they slip up. I just think the Giants might snatch it, and it drives another nail into the Daniel Jones will be back next season for the Giants. I know.
I'm not
we don't
against it.
get into that again.
I'm not against it now.
But I just think
The Vikings are 8-1 at home this year, so And yeah, I know my point around Kirk Cousins, but I want the Giants to win for you guys, but I think the Vikings will.
I think the Vikings will win. I think it might be close. Once again, it's player football. That's what happens. It's the Vikings. That's what happens.
Yeah.
But I mean, I said all along, I said the Vikings get to the playoffs and they lose to the first good team they play. I just don't think it's us.
Paul? Join me, Paul. Have some faith.
Yeah, all right, the Giants will win.
Yeah, Baldies unite. We didn't pick, actually, the Seahawks.
Some of us commit to that.
Some of us are not ready yet. Seahawks at Niners. I am taking the Niners all day long.
Yeah, I'm taking the Niners as well.
Any person would be mad to take the Seahawks.
Absolutely. Right. Here's the one then. Let's see. I think I know how this is going to go, but we'll see. Cowboys at Bucks. I'm absolutely taking the Bucks. Mm-hmm. I absolutely think Mick McCarthy gets sacked. Bastard. Because I just think this is the sort of game where Brady goes, yeah, remember me. I know we just had a losing season, but I'm just so good. I just think I've just got a feeling he takes over the game and they beat the Cowboys handily.
But this is the first time Brady, is not have to, pay attention to his kids or that annoying noise at home. He can just spend all of his time hanging out with Gronk and being a dickhead. This is going to be a great postseason for him.
It could well be.
And also, the thing that I think makes it scary for the Cowboys is him finding rhythm with Mike Evans again.
Mm-hmm.
And though in-form Mike Evans is top 3 receiver in the league.
Yes.
It's actually one of my favourite books as well, Finding Rhythm with Mike Evans. Just saying. I really enjoyed that read.
That's how I learned guitar. I don't think it matters. I think, but what matters most is Dak's complete lack of mojo.
He hasn't got it buttoned down this year.
No, he's at times he's looked good. Unfortunately, he's one of the players limping into the postseason.
I like.
And Micah Parsons is literally limping into the postseason.
Like
that's what I think. What the difference between the two teams is.
I like what Colin Cowherd said about Dak Prescott this week. He's Kirk Cousins with better PR. Which I think is fair. I think Kirk Cousins is above Dak Prescott at the moment. Prescott's, I think it's Prescott thrown an interception in 5 or 6 straight games.
At one point, he'd thrown two in 3 consecutive games.
I don't think for the last 4 or 5 weeks the Cowboys have been that great. Yeah, they've recorded 3 wins out of their last 5. One of those is the Texans. One of those was to an Eagles team without Jalen Hurts, and they nearly blew that. And one of them was to the Titans. They've lost to the Jaguars.
They've struggled against all of them.
Yeah, they've struggled against all of them.
Yeah.
Anyone
giving me anything for the Cowboys?
I still think that their squad is better than the Bucks. And if they can get Pollard and Zeke moving, I don't think the Dak struggles matter too much because those two can take a game on them by themselves. They can take it by the scruff of their neck and absolutely move a team down, and then you can rely on enough of the defense. Diggs is still a huge part of that team. There's enough there for them to stop a 45-year-old man with no O-line, no running game. I know it's playoff Lenny, but he looks like the end of the Jags Lenny.
Yeah.
And that was not a good player. The only time I saw him run was he ran across the pitch wants to punch a man.
But you're forgetting, John, the chrysalis has opened and playoff Lenny emerges.
I think in my predictor I've gone with, on the NFL website I've gone with the Bucks. And it's the one I'm most conflicted with because in every sensible outcome, the Cowboys win that.
It's the one I'm least conflicted with. I think it's the Bucks all day long.
I'm 60-40 on this. Yep. This I'm conflicted on this one. I think it's the Bucks, but I don't think it's the. I wouldn't be surprised if either team won.
I worry for the Cowboys if they lose because Dan Quinn surely will get a head coach again. And I mean as well, It's going to be change. It's going to be upheaval. And, yeah, I mean, it's just good news for the Eagles in the NFC East, quite frankly. Yeah.
Okay, let's slide across to the AFC. We've got the AFC East interdivisional matchup. Dolphins at Bills.
Bills, easiest.
I would say of the 6, this is the
easiest pick out of all the games.
You can bring Tua back. You can bring Dan Marino back. I don't think it makes any difference. I mean, he's 84. But I cannot find a way where I see a Dolphins win. The irony being, they've beaten the Bills this season already.
Was in Miami, though. It was really hot that day.
It was.
3 weeks ago, they played and had a fantastic game. It was brilliant. And they still lost with a strong team. Like, if this game happens at week 9, I pick the Dolphins. It isn't, though. It's week 19. I'm going with the Bills.
Yep.
We're going for a Destiny's Child panel here, aren't we?
Bills.
Yeah.
Bills. Yeah, it's. I think that's the easiest one to pick of all of them.
I agree. I think, for me, the Dolphins are a year out. I've mentioned it earlier. I just think this is great. They've got where they've got to, but now they've reached their final boss.
Yes.
I hope as well, like McDaniel learns from it, because I like him. He's a bit of a character, but I think that character could be a bit of a distraction.
Do you not think, though, he must get quite tired because of all that homework he clearly has to do before he comes and coaches a team? He's like 9.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, I'm quite tired. It's been a long day.
It's been a long one.
You need to do more homework.
Yeah. No, I need less homework. Right, Ravens, another interdivisional game. Ravens at Bengals.
Yeah, he's a nerd. But Ravens, Bengals, actually, this might be the easiest one to pick.
No, second easiest.
The Ravens' defense is...
That's what keeps them in this game. That Ravens' defense is elite.
Roquan Smith signed a $100 million contract.
Yeah.
We didn't mention it earlier, but yeah, it's good for him.
Big money. I can't see past the Bengals.
I can't either.
Really can't. If the Ravens were at home, I'd give them more of a chance.
If the Ravens were at home and we knew that Lamar was going to be the quarterback and he was going to be 100% fit, I think the Ravens would have a chance. I think that being at the Bengals, I think their trajectory has been upward over the last.
Good word, everyone.
This
That's
time
good
of night.
at this time of night.
I think it's been upwards for the last few weeks. One concern, a little bit, T. Higgins took a bit of a knock on Sunday. If he comes back fit, awesome. Well, they did come back on the field. It's difficult to see past the Bengals.
Anything else?
There's just too many question marks about the Ravens.
Too many question marks about their offense.
Yeah. If there's lots of ifs, I just don't. I've already said I don't see Lamar turning up.
No, neither do I.
You built your entire offense around that guy, and if he doesn't turn up, you've got a problem.
They do have the better head. They do have the better head coach. Like, you trust Harbour to create a scheme to disrupt and confuse.
I think he's only better because he's been around longer. He's more experienced. Like, I know we joked about this last year where it was like we were all about to fire Zach Taylor, but it's another good year.
Oh no, I'm not slagging off Zach Taylor. I'm saying, like, if you wanted a head coach for a one-off game, someone who,
no one's picking Zach Taylor, is what John said.
I'm saying Harbour is one of them because he can.
Yeah.
Like, occasionally, like he brings out a defense. Like, at times he's
That's true.
punished people like Justin Herbert and Burrow. Like, he can do it if he can get that. It'll be a tight, probably horrible game.
It could. You're absolutely right. It could be an absolute horrible game based on the fact that the Ravens' defense is good. We've said earlier where there are problems on the Bengals' offensive line. If they can disrupt Burrow enough, they're in for a shout. But then again,
Not a chance. Bengals all the way.
Yeah, I agree.
And I hope so, because I don't enjoy watching the Ravens. I don't want to watch more Ravens. I'll be glad to see teams like the Dolphins, the Ravens, the Seahawks gone.
We have, for the last several years, said, "Wow, come on, Chargers, make the playoffs. You've got all that talent. Do it. They've made it. It's a brilliant team. And now they're going to lose to the Jags. They're playing against Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence is coming on strong. ETN looks
At
one of the best
home.
running backs in the league.
Defense
At
is
home.
good.
Brandon Staley's rubbish. I absolutely think the Jags are winning this. No. Paul's pulling the face that looks like he's just weed himself. Go on. Tell me why the Chargers win this.
Look at the fucking roster. Look at it.
They've had a brilliant roster forever.
But this is a team that's supposed to get to the playoffs, got to the playoffs. You have the quarterback of the future there. You have one of the best running backs in the league. You have one of the best wideout stables in the leagues. You have one of the best defenses in the league. What are they missing?
Nothing. They're not missing anything other than they've got an average at best head coach.
And they're playing a team that haven't limped into the playoffs, have like crawled on their lips into the playoffs.
You can run against the Chargers. Your point around that ETN has been great the last 5 or 6 weeks. That would be my concern, is that he could quite quickly get up to 100 yards and quite quickly put the Jags into the lead. And I don't think the Chargers running game. I think Eckler's had a good season, not so much as running the ball, but as a pass catching back.
He's been a good runner.
Yeah.
He's like I think because he's a good catching back, I think people go, oh, he's a good catching back. He's a good runner, and just because he's not, built like Melvin Gordon or whatever, he's a good runner.
Oh, I would be putting all of my money on the Chargers for this.
I'd be putting. I think the Jags come in with momentum. I think. I've wanted to see the Chargers in the playoffs ever since Rivers retired.
Me too.
And they're there, and I'm the whole time I'm thinking, I'd rather it was the Steelers. I'd rather it was.
It would just be so Chargers-esque to fudge this up.
Yeah,
they're going to lose on a missed field goal right at the end of the game.
Of course they will.
Doink. That's what the Chargers do.
It absolutely feels that way.
Yeah.
Okay. They are the 3 games in each conference for this weekend.
Super Wildcard. Wicked wild card. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Thank God we only have that for 1 week.
The energy has gone out.
Before we get to the
Super Divisional.
Coach wanted must be better than Urban Meyer.
Low bar.
The available positions are the Texans, the Cardinals, the Colts, the Broncos, the Panthers, and an honourable mention for the Rams in case McVay decides at the last minute to go.
McVay spent the entire season like somebody who's feeling the consequence of their own actions. It's been really, really nice to see.
He almost there were rumours that he wanted to quit last summer.
Yes,
after the Super Bowl win, he must have after week 3 of this season going, what the fuck am I here for?
Yeah, it must be difficult.
Although Schefter going, it's a losing season, lots of injuries. The war in Ukraine, and you're like, what?
Yeah, hang on.
Fucking hell, man.
Losing his wife, Ukraine.
His wife is Ukrainian,
but she's not over there, so
Ben Skowronek? I don't know. He might have something to do with it.
So let's start with Sean Payton. If you're Sean Payton, which of these jobs are you taking?
None of them.
Because you're waiting for the Cowboys.
You wait for the Cowboys and the Chargers.
But out of these, Broncos.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're more likely to. And to be fair, Wilson had a slight upswing at the end.
He looked good the last couple of games.
Yeah.
Okay, so that leaves Texans, Cardinals, Colts, and Panthers. For all the money in the world, the Panthers should be keeping Steve Wilkes, but they won't. So, who are they looking for? Why is Steve Wilkes not going to get this job? Because I don't understand. What more could he have done this season?
I don't know what he could have done.
I don't get it either.
Is it because they want an offensive-minded coach? But the rumours are that they're after
Frank Reich.
Frank Reich.
Really?
Frank Reich apparently is being interviewed. I think that would be a mistake. I cannot see that Frank Reich is suddenly going to be better than Steve Wilkes, who clearly has the team on his side.
If you want an offensive-minded coach, why don't you get the guy Ben Johnson, the Lions offensive coordinator?
Because he's still recovering from his Olympic cheating scandal.
It feels very much like when Rich Bisaccia last season.
Yeah, look how that worked out.
Yeah. You've got someone who's clearly got the players behind them.
Yeah.
Is NFL experienced. He's just not, sorry for the way I'm wording this, he's not the sexy hire, is he?
No. I think you've worded it perfectly there.
I find him attractive.
Well, it's a new owner as well, still, really, isn't it? So,
It's not that new anymore, though.
But no, the first thing he did was he gave Ron a year, got rid of him, brought in Matt Rule. I think they want this exciting, gung-ho type of football. And Steve Wilkes isn't going to bring that, but also it's the Panthers. That isn't going to happen because the best quarterback you've got is still Sam Darnold.
He's played okay.
And it's been fine.
I don't think the owner thinks okay is good enough.
No,
I think that's the
No,
problem.
it's the owner.
He spent billions of dollars. He doesn't want average
Literally,
football.
yeah.
Okay, the Colts then. So Jeff Saturday and Jim Irsay seem to get on famously, but this is a team that wanted Josh McCown. No,
No, that's
that
the
was-
Texans.
that
Josh
was the
McDaniel
Sorry,
a few years ago.
They wanted Josh McDaniels. So you cannot believe that they are now prepared to settle for a guy at best described as bland and defensive, as opposed to Josh McDaniels, that's brought with them all the hope of a high-powered offense. What is Irsay after? For me, this is the hardest one to even begin to predict.
It's pretty obvious. He's looking for a bad coach. So he wanted McDaniels, who's a bad coach. He's brought in Saturday, who's a bad coach. It's going to be Saturday. Of course, it's going to be Saturday.
Not going to be Saturday.
I don't think it's going to be Saturday.
It's going to be a homecoming. It's going to be Jim Harbaugh.
You reckon?
Why not?
Why would he want the
Harbaugh?
job?
He's an Indianapolis folk hero after being a quarterback there. Like,
Why would you want the job? You've got no quarterback.
He wants a job back in the NFL.
he wants to come back to the NFL. He's being Michigan and him are being investigated by the NCAA. He wants to get out of that situation as quickly as he possibly can. He's been at Michigan for ages, and they've not.
7 years?
Yeah,
They lost to
Haven't done nothing.
TCU.
They lost to TCU. They just got spanked by Georgia.
He sort of hawked himself around last year, got a few interviews,
Yeah.
He was
and then
rumoured to be going to the Vikings, wasn't
and
he,
then
last year?
took
The money.
the money to stay. I mean, he wasn't going to get an NFL job anyway, but he hawked himself around and got a pay rise. I think he wants to be back in the NFL.
I do as well.
I
think
do
he
as
wants
well. I
another
just don't know
shot.
why you'd want to do it with the Colts. They've got nothing. It's the worst.
I don't.
position.
But
No,
he's.
I think-
they're
I
better
don't
than
think
the
that's
rest of
true.
us.
What?
I think there's more on the Colts roster than, especially on the defensive side, which when he was in
they've
charge
got
of the
some
49ers, the strength of that team was the defense.
Yes, it was. But
brilliant.
they've got zero in the quarterback locker room.
Right,
They're
but they've got a
picking
high.
fourth.
Yeah, they've got a high draft pick.
They're picking fourth.
He can take a quarterback high, or they can bring in a veteran quarterback, Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo. Name someone else, but you know what I mean. They can bring in a veteran quarterback, build around that. The offensive line can only get better. It's got pieces on it. It just needs good coaching. Why not?
Okay.
And you're in the AFC South. Going into next year,
it's a winner.
it might be one of the easiest leagues divisions to win.
Cardinals then. Who takes the Cardinals job and why?
No idea what's going to happen there.
That just feels like
a loser.
they're going to burn
They've
it
got
down.
no GM either.
Yeah, well, where do you start? Do you hire the GM first and then bring in a head coach, or have you got a head coach in mind already?
But there's been success with that. Isn't there,
Yeah,
in
well, the
terms of-
49ers.
And the Giants
Yeah.
recently
Giants.
with Joe Shane.
Vikings.
Yeah.
Like, if you can do it well, then it makes sense. It's the Cardinals. They won't.
This
I
is
don't
the
think they've
problem.
been. I mean, yeah, you say I certainly wouldn't put them in that, lower Jets, Browns, Texans, Colts type franchise. Michael Bidwell's a decent enough owner. He gives his coaches time to fuck up. And Steve Keim's been there for a long time. And again, there are pieces on the roster which make that look to some coaches who want to play it a certain way. They may think that's an attractive offer.
But I can't name a single
No,
coach
I
I
don't
think
know who
will
that
stand
is.
out there.
No. But
I don't think Kyler's easy to work with.
It will be an OC or DC somewhere that they'll recruit within the league.
that could
Yeah.
be a Ben Johnson one.
Yeah, maybe.
Could be.
I think he'd quite enjoy playing with a wild card like Kylo as well.
it could be the Eagles' offensive coordinator,
Yeah.
because it could be a similar game plan that you've got in Philadelphia that you then put into Arizona with
Sure.
Kyler Murray.
I mean, also you've got like the Frank Reichs of this world, haven't
Yeah.
you? Who could end up there?
If they've got 30 million in cap space, if they trade DeAndre Hopkins, that gives them another 22 million.
Jesus.
JJ Watt going will give them some more cap space. Like, it's
So you're
They
saying it's
could-
more attractive than it appears at first glance.
Out of this list,
out of this list. Yeah, and I think you'll get, you might, if you can bring in a new GM as well, you'll get a couple of
What-
years.
yeah. And what sticks the cards out on this list is that, and I know you don't like him, but if you're a coach that does like him, you've got a young quarterback on the team.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, and now let's move to the last of the teams definitely on this list, the Texans.
Right, let's switch this around. What coach would want to go there?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Why would you want to go work for chaotic ownership who've had 2 one-and-done successive coaches?
By the way, Nick Caserio, the GM, he's going to be the first GM to hire 3 head coaches.
Really?
Yeah.
In 3 years.
In 3 years. No other GM has done that because you get it right, you hire maybe 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, if you get it right,
You can hire 1.
You hire 1.
Yeah.
Or you just work with 1.
Yeah.
It's an absolute basket case for an organisation.
Think, like, as soon as they allowed Bill O'Brien to become GM, this franchise took a horrible downturn because they had slowly built themselves into a position where they were making the playoffs probably every other year under Bill O'Brien.
Probably would have got there every year.
Yeah, they would have been
Bill
the best
O'Brien
team.
and the Larry Tunsil trade.
Yeah, and
I didn't even mind the Laramie Tunsil trade.
I didn't mind it at the time.
That was, I mean,
That was a win-now trade.
it was a win-now trade. Like,
But they weren't a win-now team at that point.
well, no, they were a strong team in a weak division. You know, let's not. You know, like back then the Colts were there was nothing good about the Colts other than the fact that Andrew Luck was on the bench. Like
He was
recuperating.
touring around Europe with his arm, wasn't he?
Exactly. Like the Jags were, you know, a few years from Saxonville. Like it's a.
But they had their quarterback. They had one of the best defensive ends in the league. They had their wide out. They had most of the pieces you
JJ
need.
Watt.
Yeah,
They're a
that's
Hall
what
of
I mean.
Famer.
I think you need somebody who's got a plan, and they need somebody to actually. They just need to give somebody 3 years.
Yeah.
They need to find someone who is not just a head coach, but he's going to be a team builder.
Yeah.
And then they need to stand out the fucking way. Like the only person I can think of that fits that at the moment, and I'm sure they're not going to hire this person, and he's not the right person, but it's like a Tom Coughlin job, who literally went in when Jacksonville first got their franchise. He was the first head coach, and he built that franchise up. That's the type of person, because there are a few young players there who've got potential, but there are no stars there outside of Brandon Cooks and Larry Tunsil. And Brandon Cooks wants out, and if I was Larry Tunsil, I'd be like, yeah, I want to go somewhere.
My pick, if he'd have been a victim of Black Monday, would have been Ron Rivera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
they
sort
need
of
an
person.
old-fashioned motivator, don't
Yeah.
they?
I was waiting for him to get the chop, and I was
This-
going to say it would be him.
This is one. I mean, I think any young coordinator, and you know, we mentioned Ben Johnson, D'Amico Ryan's the defensive coordinator for the 49ers, is touted being a head
Happened
coach.
to Eric Bieniemy.
I mean, even Eric Bieniemy, but no one's going to want. Like Sean Payton said it on Pundit. He said the most important thing is the head coach's relationship with the ownership. So it's not the relationship with the quarterback; it's the relationship with the ownership, because that's where the trust is built. That they trust you to do the job, and you're not going to get fired, and you can go away and do that. I don't think anyone's really going to trust them.
This is what makes them really interesting as a team, because obviously, like on Twitter, I find Twitter so fascinating for NFL fan bases, because you take the Broncos and everybody's slagging off Hackett and slagging off Wilson. Nobody's slagging off the owners because they've just bought them. You got to give them time. You take what's happening with the Cardinals. Nobody's blaming the ownership. That is all Clinker nuts and his terrible play.
I think there's a lot of blame to go with them.
But with the Texans, all their fan base and all the notable Texans fans that I follow hate Cal McNair.
Yeah. According to Ian Rappaport, the Texans have joined the Panthers in requesting to interview Giants offensive coach Mike Kafka.
Excellent stuff.
I mean,
Maybe. I don't
Yeah.
think it's a big enough name. I don't think that person carries enough weight, but maybe they just need to go the other way and be quiet in the background.
Yeah,
and-
but you look at it like, did Matt LaFleur have a big
Yeah.
enough name?
No,
there's
maybe.
a lot of coaches who didn't have a big enough name. They've done really well.
Yeah.
I don't think, especially for the Texans, I don't think you need a big name because, I mean, what you need is, you need a team builder. Do you know how much dead money they will get if they will have to stomach if they trade Brandon Cooks?
No idea.
That's
20
quite
million.
a lot, isn't it?
16 million.
Yeah.
If they cut him, they lose 34. They're not going to cut him. 34 million in cap space they lose.
Wow.
They're just such a badly run franchise.
It's
Yes, they
appalling.
are.
Yeah.
Okay. Quickly then, before we leave, the first overall pick, Chicago Bears. We're going to get into this more in depth, obviously, when we have the off season. But Does anybody here tell me any reason why they shouldn't trade out of the number 1 pick?
If they fall in love with someone who, is...
Who's the best pass rusher in the draft?
Will Anderson.
But there's no obvious star for me. There's no Myles Garrett. There's no Jadeveon Clowney. There's no absolute bona fide number 1 stud. I can't think of that. That's not a quarterback. So I'd trade out of this. You'd have to trade out of this because there are some teams that are going to do some stupid things.
I think that's the point, isn't it?
You've
got teams who are in the top 5,
the Colts,
who need quarterbacks. Colts, Texans, Panthers.
I mean,
they're not top 5, but
you've also got to consider the Bears are really stupid.
I don't think they can fudge this up too badly. I cannot see them holding on to the number 1 pick.
I think even if they hold on to it, they don't get. They'll be able to pick someone that that hopefully they love and whatever. That'd be great. Because I think haven't they got other picks? It's
the problem they've got is everyone knows they've already got their quarterback, which devalues then the number 1 pick for other people because they're going to.
Well, I don't think it does because I get where you're coming from, but I think the value then increases because everyone knows that there's four teams that need a quarterback quite desperately who are in position enough to get up to that point.
So Lovie Smith really has screwed the Texans over.
Yes.
Excellent stuff. Anybody got anything else they want to bring to the table?
The only other thing I consider with this is they burned down their franchise in terms of pick and draft capital to get Justin Fields.
Burn it down.
They did.
2 first-round picks, which
hasn't worked out for them really, has it, so far?
Not yet, but it could.
He looks
good.
Yeah, I'd say there's potential. If I was a Bears fan, I'd be happy with the quarterback situation right now. I'd be unhappy with everything around him. So if you can trade out that pick, out of the top round pick and get an extra 1, an extra 2, and maybe more picks next year, so you've got 2 first-round picks next year as well, I think going into 2024, you're looking really good.
Who was the other Bears wide receiver when Brandon Marshall played for them?
Alshon Jeffrey.
Alshon Jeffrey. Imagine if Brandon Marshall and Alshon Jeffrey and Justin Fields were all on the same team because they had Jay Cutler throwing to them. And this is a team that has...
Matt Forte at running
back.
Great
player. This is the thing. They've never had all the pieces together in all the time I've been watching the game.
Ryan Poles is a new GM. Maybe he's the one that can actually pull it off.
Let's hope so. Right, with that, I shall bid everyone adieu. And that will be the end of the podcast for another week. Bye-bye.